how does the Burntrap showdown work in FNAF Security Breach behind the scenes? At the end of Security Breach, before the Ruin DLC, the player can face off against Burntrap and the other scrapped animatronics in one final showdown. But how does this whole section function off camera? What kinds of things can the player not normally see? And how can we break the game if we were to head out of bounds? Well, in this video, we'll be doing just that. So I hope you enjoy this bizarre breakdown of the final encounter. As always, I like to do a brief recap so everyone is on the same page for how this section works. After scrapping both Monty and Chica, we can access a secret elevator after 6 AM that takes us down to the ruins beneath the Pizzaplex. We must then power up several generators in this area and avoid some endoskeletons lurking in the dark, alongside a very terrifying scrapped staff bot. After this is done, we can head inside, and as long as we are inside Freddy, we can make it past the Blob. We then fall down below and Burntrap emerges. Burntrap will move between 3 different rooms to try to possess Freddy, and as long as he is touching a computer monitor, we can burn him. As the fight progresses, the other damaged Glamrock animatronics will try to get you, so you must shut the doors or climb inside of Freddy to evade them. The Blob can also attack through the openings on the ceiling and floor as well. After several burns, Burntrap is grabbed by the Blob and the game comes to an end. So starting off, this is what the entire area looks like from above. It's 3 back rooms, 2 hallways, a vent system, and the player's room. The player's room has tons of pipes and vents leading out of it that the Blob can attack you from. We can see that Monty's vent actually has lots of debris floating outside of it too. So this entire area down below is empty until we trigger the fall of Freddy, or at least get near it while inside of him. Looking behind the scenes, we can see that Burntrap's capsule has no one inside of it. No animatronics can be found back here at this time. We can take a closer look at the Blob though, which is honestly pretty terrifying. If you didn't know, going down here as just Gregory will trigger a jump scare, as only Freddy can walk past the Blob. If we were to warp down here with Freddy, it appears that being down here does load in Burntrap, but not exactly like you would expect. So we can see happening right here is that we got down here together, and I'm exploring as Gregory, but we did not end up breaking the wooden boards to fall down. So we are free to explore this area, except we have to hack our way past the metal doors in the back. The rooms back here are empty, except for Burntrap's center room. Surprisingly, he's standing here in front of the computer. We can walk up against him, and he can't hurt us either. He's just patiently waiting for the final fight to begin. Oddly, he somehow freed himself. The doors back here now work for Gregory, so we can walk around. We can also climb up into the vent, and surprisingly, there isn't a real ceiling. We can jump up and down without any issues as we clip to the top. If we try to hit the fire buttons, they won't do anything currently, and the only way to move things along is to then go back up top with Freddy and come crashing down to restore the intro cutscene. So we go back up top to fall back down. Now, this is where something interesting happens. So apparently, Burntrap is always present off camera, but another Burntrap appears within the capsule. So changing the camera, we can see 2 Burntraps at once. Normally the camera is so close to the Burntrap inside the capsule that we can never see the Burntrap already standing at the table. One of these is simply an animated cutscene model, while the other is a packaged blueprint of Burntrap as an interactable character for this final challenge. So this purple fog that appears in this cutscene actually exists on the map way out of bounds too. The second this cutscene starts, I believe some of it is warped over here from way over there. Watching Burntrap emerge in slow motion is extra creepy though. And as he steps out, we can see him look right over to his stunt double in confusion. Apparently, it's his time to burn. Oddly, Burntrap's arms get stuck behind him as he's coming out. This is because normally in the cutscene, this shot is a close-up of Burntrap's feet as he steps outward, so there was no need to animate the arms. It does look a bit funny from a different perspective though. Eventually, Burntrap will slide over to the computer and put his hand on the screen to start possessing Freddy. The contorted motion looks extra eerie as this takes place, and Burntrap's twin brother is just watching all of this go down. A moment later, this cutscene Burntrap despawns, and then Monty's severed hands begin to twitch and malfunction. So we decide to burn the lad out back by hitting this button, and once the button is hit, we can see the flames rise up in the back. Honestly, Burntrap kind of doesn't react to them. He just sort of lets go of the computer and walks to the back of the room. The fire itself is spaced pretty far apart too, and eventually Burntrap will walk back into one of the flames and just stand there. Heading back there, we can watch Burntrap try to possess Freddy in person. But if we aren't careful, Chica or Roxy will try to come kill us the second they enter the room up front. Their navigational mesh stretches back here because this is where they can spawn, so they can easily find us here. If we wait long enough, Freddy will become possessed and try to attack us too. We can hide in the vents, and neither of them will be able to reach us though, as Monty can't spawn if Chica is on the map, at least to my knowledge. So we flash Chica and run up and activate the fire, and this actually rescues Freddy from his fully possessed state. And if we do this while Freddy is in a doorway, Freddy will prevent Chica from exiting, and she'll get stuck in a logic loop and basically softlock herself. So we can burn Skeleton Boy out back again, and we can see how little he cares that he's getting burned. He merely walks out of the room. Roxy then shows up, and Freddy tells us the doors won't hold her, but what he doesn't realize is that he can. So Freddy once again saves us from certain death by doing what Luigi does best. Absolutely nothing. Roxy just kind of twitches in place against the might of the Fazbear Empire. Now, before moving on, I want to rewind time a bit and show you how Freddy falls down to this final area. We normally see this in first person, but watching it in third person is quite comical. We can see that Freddy's legs are hyperextended backwards, and he's just bouncing on his toes as he starts looking at his hands. He begins to then clip through the wooden boards as he falls, and then the boards finally explode when the player's camera gets near them. He falls, mostly standing upright, and then topples to his knees the second he hits the floor. However, the hand that isn't in the first-person shot is kept upwards and out of the camera's range. Looking at this from the front is a bit goofy looking. As Glamrock Freddy gets up, that arm stays extended the entire time, and it almost looks like he has an arm around an invisible person's shoulders. He then vanishes as the cutscene swaps over to Burntrap emerging out back. While all this is going on, the Blob is still just chilling in the crater upstairs. Once Burntrap has emerged, Freddy then reappears in the main room as he begins to malfunction. Once this animated cutscene Freddy is finished, we can see the first-person view camera with Freddy's floating arms is loaded into the room and it falls into place. This is when the player is ejected and resumes control. Swapping between these certainly looks odd as the cutscene comes to a close, as Freddy's floating arms only appear in the game for a fraction of a second. I just had the game running really slow. So when Monty spawns in the vent, we can get a close-up of him climbing on through. His face definitely looks intense as he makes his way through this vent area. We can see that when he reaches the vent door, he just stops, waits, and turns around. If we follow him out of the vents, we can see that he just vanishes the second he reaches Burntrap's room again. In a similar fashion, if we wait back here with our camera, we can see that Chica will just appear in the hallways back here. At one point I tried taking Freddy up into the vents, and when I got out of him, he just vanished. I had no idea where he went, but then I eventually found him way out of bounds, stuck in a forever falling loop. As I got closer, I realized this is where the elevator is for descending to the ruin section. So Freddy kept respawning in the elevator and falling right through it. Standing inside the elevator was a bit trippy, given how fast this occurs. So something odd that was happening while sequence breaking this area is that one of the doors would be stuck locked forever, and I didn't have to worry about the power level of it. Even if the power was completely depleted, the door would stay shut, and even Roxy wasn't capable of getting through it. I can't pinpoint why this would happen, but it was kinda neat. So something very strange is that no matter how many times I would attempt this ending, I could never get the Blob to activate. Usually their tentacles can appear after Roxy. I don't know if my game is just bugged out or what, but because of that, I wasn't able to show you the Blob's tentacles coming through the openings. However, I did pull up the model for these tentacles, and this is what they look like. They are cut off at the bottom, and they flip from side to side. And if the player does get grabbed by them, the Blob will jump scare them. And the Blob's jump scare, in general, isn't too exciting off camera. It merely extends as Funtime Freddy head downward as the head opens up and the game screen cuts to static. And in case you were also curious, unfortunately, the very last cutscene with Burntrap getting grabbed by the Blob is a video file, meaning we can't look at this animation behind the scenes. However, I do hope you enjoyed this look behind the scenes at everything else this area had to offer. And if you did, consider subscribing for more Security Breach content covering the base game and the Ruin DLC. Thanks for watching, and cheers!